AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio.
Let's ride! Go!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Cassie Spazzali.
I'm walking here.
Musu. And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Oh, by the way, it's hump day. Hey. Let's hump, everybody.
It's hump day.
It is hump day.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
We got a plum ton to do.
Hump day.
LSU defensive tackle Bernard Gooden next hour.
It's hump day.
Former LSU coach Paul Maneri, hour 3.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
Not a great year for Paul,
Hump day.
but he is always great to us,
It's hump day.
and sincerely appreciate him joining us on the show today.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
Antonio Daniels next hour.
Hump day.
He'll talk about the disastrous season of the Pelicans,
It's hump day.
the disastrous draft lottery for the Pelicans,
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
and just all the disasters.
Hump day.
Taylor Calandro's back from Argentina.
Somewhere over in Europe.
It's
Madrid.
hump day.
Could have been.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
Germany?
Argentina.
Hump day.
That's not in Europe. Europa.
It's hump day.
London, hey governor.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
Yeah, Pally.
Hump day.
Panama. No, that's not.
Mike.
That's not Europe.
What day is it, Mike?
They got a canal there, though.
Hump day.
They do.
All right, let's get going. We got a lot to do. Glad you're hanging out with us here on today's Hump Day edition of AFR. Let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
We do have a lot of sports to get to today. I will just begin the show by addressing the elephant in the room. I don't think there's really a great time to address it or where you shoehorn it into the show or whatever. So we'll just talk about it and discuss it and move on. For those who are aware and judging by all of our very robust social media interactions today at 104.5 ESPN in Baton Rouge, many of you have heard the news that T-Bob Hebert is leaving. He's accepted a job at Barstool Sports. His last day on air here will be Friday. He and his family are moving to Chicago. This is, first of all, there's two different components of this for me because there's the friend, coworker component of it with T, and then there's also me being the program director of the station. I've gone through every phase of this whole thing, which I can tell you. And by the way, there's some stuff I'm not going to disclose because it's personal and nobody needs to know other than T-Bob and his family. And he can disclose whatever he wants, but I'm not going to. But there's also a component of this where I view it as you, the listener or viewer, are part of this every day. I mean, I do say it often, and I mean it sincerely. Without you, like, I'm just a guy sitting in a room talking to himself, and that's just weird. So I do mean it sincerely, where I do believe in transparency with the audience and letting you know what's going on, and I will to a degree, and it stops where it becomes personal, someone's personal details. But T-Bob's contract with us expired on March 1st, and in January, he and I began conversations about a new contract and a new deal that would keep him here. And if I'm being just very, very candid and transparent, I'm not stupid. T-Bob has been, both T-Bob and Jake in the morning have amazing national opportunities. Jake's on Sirius XM every single day. And T-Bob has been hired by Colin Cowherd as part of his Volume Sports. He's been hired by Stadium Sports when he paired with A.J. McCarron on Rivals Down South. Jim Rome recently hired him to host the After Hour, to co-host the After Hour with Jim Rome. I mean, yeah, when you're a giant national talent and personality like that, people are going to take notice and they're going to try to hire you. And what I can tell you, the listener, the audience, is we all here worked very, very, very hard to try to keep T-Bob here. I don't know that there's, maybe he could disclose what he wants, but I don't know that there is a thing more that I could have done to try to keep him here. Barstool made him a great offer, and it's Barstool, so you get it. Like, sometimes I equate it, being here in Baton Rouge where we're market 80, I equate it to being like the really powerful mid-major, like football, like G5 football program or the mid-major basketball program. Like, you can have great resources and everything to win and compete and all that sort of stuff. But at some point, like, if you're Will Wade and you're crushing it at McNeese, but NC State calls, like, you're going to NC State. It's just what it's going to be. So that's sort of the work component of it. We have known for a while, and T-Bob was awesome throughout this whole process and being very transparent. He and I have been in communication with the whole. This by the way, this isn't a Derek Carr, Mickey Loomis. We've been in constant communication. Like, we really have been in communication, and I have seen T-Bob in person, by the way, just to be clear. But that's the work side of it. So we've known it allowed us an opportunity to go through the process of what it was going to be like with a reasonable timeline to work on what we were going to do next in the iteration of the morning show and all that sort of stuff. And I'll let Jake handle that. Thankfully, we have retained Jake, and so Jake will continue on off the bench in the morning, and we'll have a new co-host with Hester, which when he's ready and they do that in the morning, I'll let them handle that announcement. That's not my business. In a sense it is, but it's theirs to own. So that's the professional part of it. The personal part of it is super conflicting, man, because I am so happy for T-Bob. He and I played this bit on all these platforms for so many years that we hated each other, and it worked. The oil and water thing, and it worked. The dynamic worked. It worked on whiskey and wine. It worked in everything we did. Scone and tea, all that stuff. But privately, I love T-Bob. I love him as a friend and as a coworker, and in all those ways, he is authentic to the core. I often say he's authentically unique. He is authentically himself on air, which is not easy to do for a lot of people, and he does it unapologetically, and that's awesome. And it's very hard to, if not impossible, to try to replicate. But I am so happy for him because he works hard and he's talented, and people who work hard and are talented should get great opportunities, and he has, and that's phenomenal. And I will always, always, always support him and be his cheerleader and root him on to do awesome things. And I honestly think Barstool is just going to be a springboard to further superstardom for him. I don't think like that's the ceiling that he goes and he becomes a role player at Barstool. I think he's going to crush it there because that ecosystem is perfect for him. He's going to do awesome. the flip side of it is, selfishly, I'm very sad to see him go. I'm sad for our radio station. I'm sad for all of us that aren't going to get to see him every day. And that sucks. So it's where you're impossibly torn, where you're super happy for T-Bob and his family and this amazing opportunity, but you're also, you're bummed that your friend and your coworker is going to be leaving. So a lot of people have asked me, what does that mean for whiskey and wine? I don't know. I haven't even thought about it, quite honestly. I haven't given it enough thought to give you an answer. We'll cross that bridge in some time, but mostly it's just about giving T-Bob the salute he deserves, man, because he has grown up here. I know he wrote beautifully about it at LouisianaSports.net. Would highly recommend you go read that or go back and listen to Off the Bench from this morning where he gave his farewell on air. But I don't really have a whole lot other to say right now. That's where we are and what we know, and as we know more, we'll tell you. And we hope that you keep coming back to the morning show in the new iteration of it, which I'm very excited about, by the way, and excited for that announcement to come. And I hope everybody just takes time to send T some congratulations on an opportunity that he deserves, and one that I think he's just going to take that and just crush it. So T-Bob leaving Baton Rouge. Friday will be his last day. So you get 2 more days of that wild, wacky, zany, whatever they call it, in the morning with Hester and T-Bob and Alondra and Tay-Tay. So enjoy those guys for the next couple of days, and then T-Bob will be off to Chicago to join the Barstool office up there. Okay, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light. The official beer of AFR, official beer of the Tigers, official beer of the Saints, of course, Mockler Beverage, and Bud Light, great partners of our community. Of course, you can always drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light if you are at the ball game, at home, at a restaurant, wherever you may be. Make sure you ask your bartenders, you ask your retailers, hey, point me to the Bud Light. And if you're going to be boiling some mud bugs, make sure you realize nothing goes together better or better together than buds and boils. So drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light. All right, it's After Further Review. Sports books out there, including Circa, have updated college football win total. So what do they say about the Tigers now that the spring transfer portal window is closed? We'll get to that next on AFR.
After Further Review.
We're brought to you by the Watermark and the Renaissance. Watermark downtown, Renaissance Southtown, right there on Bluebonnet. Check them out. Hey, look, if you're looking to host an event, always encourage you to check out the Renaissance. Renaissance Baton Rouge, with their 13,000 square feet of meeting space. No matter what event you're hosting, they can help. Call Allison Crump over at the Renaissance Baton Rouge and say, hey, I heard Scone saying you could host us with any size event. They can. Their ballroom can host an event up to 500 people. So if you have a big fundraiser, an awards banquet, a lot of times their fraternity sorority, like the socials, they'll have those at Renaissance Baton Rouge. I've been to countless events there, as I'm sure have you if you live in or around the greater Baton Rouge area. But they even have intimate boardrooms for 12 people and breakout rooms for 25, 30, 50 people. They can host wedding receptions, whatever it is. Got an event coming up. You need the perfect place in Baton Rouge. You need Renaissance Baton Rouge. Call Renaissance Baton Rouge today.
After Further Review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Paul Maneri will be here in hour 3. Looking forward to that. It's been a challenging year for Coach Maneri. His Gamecocks are just 5-22 in the league. It's the second worst mark. In any year past, South Carolina would not be in the SEC tournament, but because in the new format, all 16 teams make it. Remember, prior, the bottom 2 did not. All 16 teams make it, meaning Missouri and South Carolina will be in Hoover. It switches to a single elimination field this year. So LSU, the way they're going, looks like they will lock up a double bye, meaning they wouldn't play until either Thursday or Friday of next week. And we did get a little bit of news. Jay Johnson, in releasing the pitching rotations in the game release, they're going to pitch off in game 1. So Cade Anderson, even though, Jay, can you play Jay from yesterday, Muse? This was Jay Johnson, where he was asked about Cade Anderson. This is what he said.
Yeah, he threw his bullpen yesterday, and we're on track as normal, and excited about that. Okay,
so short, succinct, to the point. Jay never really discloses much, but Even though he threw his bullpen, they're still going to pitch off, and I like that decision. If we're just looking at it functionally here, remember 2 weeks ago against Texas A&M, because of the rain out, Cade had to pitch on Saturday. So he went Saturday to Friday. So he pitched on short rest this past weekend against Arkansas. So he pitches on short rest, and he has the issue with his wrist, forearm, whatever it was, cramp. Again, they haven't fully disclosed what that was, but he has that issue. I would sure not like bringing him back on short rest again. So to go then Friday to Thursday, coming off that injury. So I think it is a wise thing to pitch off where you feel very comfortable where you are right now in the national landscape. You feel very good about your opportunity to go to Columbia and win a couple of games. But no matter what, whether you're a national seed or not, you are not getting anywhere that you want to go without Cade Anderson. So there is no reason whatsoever to jeopardize him at this point, even if it means losing this weekend. That may sound outlandish because you're going to, like, if you go lose this weekend, like if you go win, let's say 1 this weekend, get to 18, you have not locked up a national seed. I think you're in a good spot still, but you have not locked anything up. So there's a lot on the line for LSU this weekend, but nothing supersedes Cade Anderson's health and making sure that you have him healthy and available for the postseason, be it home, road, whatever. So we'll see what they elect to do here. But TBA in Game 1, then it'll be Cade Anderson, who is in the rotation for Game 2 on his regular spot on Friday, and then Anthony Hines in his regular spot on Saturday. They'd line it up like they're going to want to have it either in Hoover and certainly for regionals and then super regionals. And as we know, it don't matter who they play in the opening game of the regional, Jay going to throw Cade Anderson. He's going to go. I mean, if he threw Paul Skeens against a sub-500 Tulane team in 2023, I've often compared that to killing a bunny rabbit with a bazooka. He's going to throw Cade Anderson against, I don't care who it is. It could be a team of me. He's going to throw Cade Anderson. Just what he's going to do. So we'll see what happens there in time. All right, it's after further review. I do want to get to these college football win totals. They've been updated. We're brought to you by Parrish Construction and Roofing. Quite literally, as we're sitting here texting, I'm in our partners at Parrish just texted. This is awesome news. We just signed our office agreement lease in New Orleans, so I'm fired up for it. We do service all of Louisiana, but now we're going to have a physical location in New Orleans as well. It's interesting how the roofing industry works. We don't necessarily have to have a physical presence in a market, but as we continue to grow and scale in New Orleans, we feel like we need that. So we're excited. You know, one of our partners, Joe Morales, lives in River Ridge, so he's right there every day. But instead of commuting to Baton Rouge, now Joe can have boots on the ground there in the 504. So we're fired up. Doesn't matter if you're Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Lafayette, Lake Charles, Alexandria, anywhere in Louisiana. We'd love to help you out. Roof repairs, replacements, commercial, residential, we do it all. We've got our own gutter crew. We do soft washing. We do it all. And like we always encourage you, ignore the door knockers and do business with someone you know. That's us. Parrish Construction and Roofing. We offer financing. We can even finance your deductible if you need help with that. So don't worry about ability to pay. We have options for you. It's Parrish Construction and Roofing, parrishbuilt.com, parrishbuilt.com. Do business with someone you know. Parrish Construction and Roofing. Circa Sports has updated their win totals for the 2025 college football season. This is post-spring practice and post-spring portal window. And this was a relevant portal window for LSU. They added A.J. Halsey and Bernard Gooden. So you added 2 more elite portal defenders in this spring portal window to what was already considered either the best or second best portal class in the country. So you would think that maybe LSU got a little bit of a bump. Not exactly. We got this up at louisianasports.net if you want to go check it out. We got the list of all of the teams and their current win total at Circa. Right now, interestingly enough, Bama, Georgia, and Texas are all over under 9.5. LSU, Ole Miss, Tennessee, 8.5. Auburn, Texas A&M, 8. Florida, Missouri, South Carolina, 7.5. Oklahoma, 7. Whoosh. Arkansas, Vandy, 5.5. Kentucky, 4.5. Mississippi State, they're at the bottom at 3.5. Break up the doors. How about that? Vanderbilt over under 4.5. They actually got a little bit of a bump. They opened at 3.5. Even with the news of Pavia coming back, they bumped to 4.5 now. A couple of other things of note. Tennessee, pretty significant news here, losing Nico Iamaleava. They opened at 8.5. Even after losing Nico, they're still at 8.5, which goes to show you that, to me, it says to me, maybe Nico had a little bit of an inflated a sense of self-worth. If the quarterback who was your starter on a playoff team leaves in the spring, and it does not, like the most important position in organized team sports, and that doesn't affect your win total whatsoever, that's a pretty clear indicator. We're talking about it with the Saints. The Saints were at 5.5 with Derek Carr. He retires, we go to 4.5. Tell me Derek Carr was worth one game? Well, you were already picked to win 5.5, over under 5.5 with him, so it wasn't like you were a good roster to begin with. Anyway, a few other things that stand out really. I have kind of been, banging the drum, as many of you have, for Garrett Nussmeier as the best quarterback in the SEC this year. And I don't think that's outlandish. He's the leading returning passer in all of college football. But after Nussmeier, if you're talking about those that may challenge him there, Arch Manning is a name you hear often. Again, Arch is a great talent and a 5-star, and he's got the name and the heritage and all that sort of stuff. And he'll have a great roster around him. Remains to be seen how that may go. But the other two that I think we hear most commonly are Lenora Sellers at South Carolina and DJ Lagway at Florida. Those really are the two names that we hear the most among the top in the SEC. Nationally, there's Cade Klubnik and Drew Aller and some others. But in the SEC, it's Nuss and Lagway and Sellers, and of course Arch. But if you look at Florida and South Carolina, projected win total 7.5 over. It's basically an 8-4, 7-5 is where those two teams are slotted. I think that says a lot about those players, the rosters, and the schedules that they have to face. As we always say, it's not just who you play, but when and where you play them. I just keep looking at LSU, and maybe I'm bearing the lead a little bit here for our audience, which we're all going to care about LSU and where that projection is. LSU's number stayed the same. Before spring practice, they opened 8.5. They're still there at 8.5. And for me, this feels like a very easy load up on the over bet. I just think nationally, whereas we've had the storyline about what LSU's done in the portal all offseason, we've talked about it here. Nationally, I still don't think that's penetrated, even in parts around the league. I'll tell you, just this week, I've done interviews with Crane and Company. I did an interview this morning on ESPN Radio in Austin. And I keep dropping this nugget, and people do not realize this. Garrett Nussmeier is the leading returning passer in college football. And I know I'm preaching to the choir. You know this. I'm trying to give you some explanation as to why that number is at 8.5 and why it feels low and why I think they're going to go over. Like, Vegas is setting a number that they think they can encourage action on both sides of the number. And when you get weighted action on one side, you adjust the number to try to get equal action on the other side. You don't want to have too much of a liability. That's how they set and then alter lines. So they've got LSU at 8.5, and it hasn't moved, which tells you they're getting pretty even money on both sides. LSU is an underdog, a 2.5-point underdog at Clemson. So even if you assume a loss to Clemson, you have to go to Alabama, where I'm sure right now early they'd be projected as an underdog. I don't know. Maybe road game at Ole Miss. They might be an underdog. We'll see. But all that to say, I think nationally, people are not high on Brian Kelly, and they've watched LSU fall short of expectations the last 3 seasons. Now, we all have this open conversation as to why that's happened, and also how they've gone about trying to fix it. Like, the offense was amazing 2 years ago. They literally led the country in total offense and scoring offense. Had the Heisman Trophy winner and 2 first-round picks at receiver. You all know the numbers, but you also had an historically bad defense. Well, you went from the worst defense ever to a defense in the top 60 a year ago, and now you've gone and added all these transfers, and you get Whit Weeks back, Jacoby Guillory back, Harold Perkins back. Like, is it plausible this defense goes from top 60 to top 30? I think so. And if you're top 30 defense and you remain a top 20 offense, then I think you're over 8.5. So I just think, back to the point, if even people that cover the conference don't understand yet that Garrett Nussmeier is the leading returning passer in college. He's the only returning 4,000-yard passer in college football from a season ago. If if the conference doesn't even understand that, casual football fan doesn't understand it. They're looking and going, Brian Kelly, they fall short of expectation. They'll go 8-4. The SEC is really tough. But we always talk about as well, not just who you play, but when and where you play them. That's a mantra you hear me talk about all the time if you're with us here and have been for any length of time. Things that I love about LSU's schedule. Well, yes, you open up at Clemson, and I don't love that. I mean, like LSU's an underdog in that game. They've lost 5 straight openers. It's a true road game against a good team with a veteran quarterback, a championship coach, all that stuff. Like, I get why LSU's an underdog. And if I had to pick it today, I'd probably pick Clemson. But I look at the rest of the schedule. There's no back-to-back road conference games. And all of your toughest games the week before it, you get what I would call a relative layup the week before them. I mean, if you look at how LSU's schedule plays out, you play Clemson in the opener, but obviously that's your opener, so you'll have the whole fall camp to get ready for it. If you want to look at the trip to Ole Miss, you get Southeastern Louisiana the week before that, so you get an FCS before you go to Ole Miss. And then you play a home game against South Carolina. Well, you've got an open date before you play South Carolina. A&M's at home. You get Vanderbilt before that one. Of course, you got the road game at Bama. We got an open date before that. You got a road game at Oklahoma, and you got Western Kentucky before that. So all that to say is you avoid that brutal stretch that kind of comes in everybody's schedule at some point in the SEC and in college football. Like, everybody has that brutal stretch. I look at LSU's brutal stretch and go, is it A&M open date at Alabama, Arkansas? Probably, but you get the open date smack dab in the middle of that. You just avoid that brutal stretch at any point through the schedule, which is one of the reasons I like LSU a lot. I mean, we're going to get closer to the start of the season, and we'll get more detail to all these conversations and look at what the rest of the league has. Remember about 3 years ago, I very boldly predicted that LSU was going to beat Ole Miss, and Ole Miss came into Baton Rouge undefeated. On the Monday of that week, I made a very declarative statement. The reason I was so convinced on that is I remember the conversation that I had with my buddy Richard Cross from Super Talk Mississippi at SEC Media Days that year in Atlanta. And for the first time, he and I sat down, I looked at Ole Miss's schedule and I went, oh my God, like they're going to start 8-0 or 7-0. They're going to come to Baton Rouge undefeated because where's the loss? And sure enough, they came to LSU undefeated, top 10. But it was a little bit of fool's gold. It showed out to be that way. I think they finished 7-5 that year or 8-4. But in any event, we'll get more detailed and nuance about other team schedules and what they have and all as we go through the summer. There's no sense in having that conversation here on May the 14th. But the one thing I'm fairly certain of saying is that if I'm looking at an over-under for LSU and it's sitting at 8.5, I grab the over on that all day right now because I don't think that's where it's going to finish. I think you are going to see movement on that number the closer we get to the season. And I'll still say you got to find a way to get to 10-2 as a basement. Even if you lose to Clemson, that means you got to go 7-1 in the league, which I think is doable. You lose your cushion, but it's hard for me to imagine a scenario where LSU loses 3 SEC games this year. If they do, then I think you have to then it will be fair to say they can't get this done under Brian Kelly. With this roster, if you can't find a way to get this roster to 10 wins, let alone 9, then we're going to have a very legitimate conversation about when you start to formulate your plan to move on for Brian Kelly. I just don't see it. I think this team is well coached. I think you got the quarterback, you have the coach, you have the veteran roster, the talented roster. I think 10-2 is a basement expectation for this team in 2025, and I'm going to continue to pound that drum all off season. All right, it's after further review. A guy who will be part of that team is Bernard Gooden, defensive tackle transfer from South Florida. He's going to be with us in 45 minutes. Tell a friend. Make sure they join us to hear Bernard Gooden in 45 minutes. Big shout out to AJ Halsey, who was here yesterday, the safety transfer from the University of Houston. If you missed that, you can catch it on demand at 1045ESPN.com or on YouTube. AFR On Demand is presented by Breck Golf. Book your tee time at golf.breck.org. All right, y'all, it's after further review. We'll knock out a break. We'll go around the SEC when we come back. And we got updated Field of 64 projections from D1 Baseball and Baseball America. It's AFR presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness.
After further review.
Get Gordon and get it done. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. And no matter where you are in the state of Louisiana, there's a Gordon McKernan injury attorney office near you. So you've been injured in an accident. One of the worst things it can do is have to travel. You want convenience. Well, Gordon and his team provide that. So wherever you are, you can go to getgordon.com, getgordon.com, or you can call 888-8888. Just pick up your phone and dial 888-8888 or go to getgordon.com for Gordon McKernan injury attorneys. You know, over the years, Gordon and his team have recovered over $3 billion, with a B, $3 billion in damages for their clients. If you've been injured in an accident, don't just accept whatever payout the insurance company is willing to give you. Like, their job is to try to give you less. Let Gordon get you what you deserve. Go to getgordon.com, getgordon.com. Get Gordon and get it done.
After further review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Hey, join us Friday, May the 23rd, at South Stadium Club inside Tiger Stadium for delicious food, drinks, and the ultimate allocated 100-bottle bourbon raffle hosted by Ducks Unlimited. Plus, participate in live and silent auctions and raffles for rare bottles. Sign up at 1045ESPN.com for a chance to win the $100 packs of raffle tickets and the grand prize $500 raffle pack. For tickets and more information, visit dubourbonraffle.com.
Okay. I will do that, by the way. What is it again?
dubourbonraffle.com.
Hey, DU.
Yep, for like in Ducks Unlimited.
Bourbonraffle.com. Might talk about that here in about 8 minutes with Taylor Calandro. By the way, for those who care, gigantic news in the whiskey world for two of our local friends in the whiskey space. Again, I understand that a lot of people don't care, but there are a lot of people who love whiskey or collectors, and there's two brands that have got phenomenal news that I'm excited to talk about. We'll do that with Taylor coming up here with a Bourbon Dictionary in just a few. D1 Baseball has its Field of 64 projections out. They released that. So updated Field of 64. Like going through this just because it is a good, just sort of a litmus test to show where they project teams. So last four in, UT Rio Grande Valley, Iowa, Virginia, Western Kentucky. First four out, Xavier, Cal Poly, Texas A&M. What a... You want to talk about how big getting swept by Missouri was? Right now, that has them on the outside looking, and they need a monster weekend ahead. Texas, they have still, despite their series loss, back-to-back series losses, as the number one national seed. LSU is the number 2 national seed ahead of Arkansas, the number 3 national seed. So the top 3 seeds they have all as SEC. Florida State, Vandy, Georgia, Auburn, North Carolina. Those are the top 8 national seeds, according to D1 Baseball. Again, this is not the committee putting this out. These are the writers over at D1 Baseball giving out their opinions, but these are very respected voices in college baseball and with great connections. And to have LSU as the number 2 national seed tells you you've got some leeway. You've got some room with which to work heading into this weekend against South Carolina. You go win this weekend, and you've locked up a national seed before you go to Hoover, which would be a great place to be because then it allows you to be cautious in how you set your pitching. And quite honestly, you take 2 this weekend, I'd go to Hoover, whether you play Thursday or Friday, and I wouldn't let Anderson or Ianson throw. If they do, it wouldn't be anything more than what would be a bullpen day. Give him a couple innings. I mean, they did that with Skeens against Arkansas in 2023, where he had an abbreviated outing where it was just, look, you're just getting out there, getting hot, throwing a little bit, because everything is really setting up just to make sure everybody's fresh for regionals a week later. So massive weekend for LSU, but D1 Baseball has the Tigers right now as the number 2 national seed behind Texas. All right, it is After Further Review, brought to you by Parish Restoration. Kill mold, remove odor, have water intrusion, have mold, think you might. Look up at your air vents in your public building, church, school, office building. You see little black specks around your air vents? Could very well be mold. And we live in the mold capital of the world. When you get moisture and condensation that builds around your air vents, well, that could create mold. It could be in your walls at your home, your office building. You don't even know it. But if you've had water intrusion, chances are you got mold. What if you have water in your attic? It gets in the insulation and in your walls. Well, guess what? It's a breeding ground for mold. It can be hazardous. Let Parish Restoration come help you out. It's cost-effective. It's efficient. It's Parish Restoration. ParishRestoration.com. That's ParishRestoration.com. All right, do it every day about this time. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference, the Auburn Tigers.
Hugh Freeze said he's not going to have quarterback controversy heading into the season. Jackson Arnold is the starter, the Oklahoma transfer after spring practice, but doesn't expect that to change in fall camp, although they will have some competition. Stanford transfer Ashton Daniels has been added to the mix, and freshman Deuce Knight is there as well. Arnold threw for just 1,400 yards a season ago at Oklahoma, where he began the season as the starter before losing his job.
The Texas Longhorns.
Texas has landed five-star athlete Jermaine Bishop out of the state of Texas. 5'11", 155-pounder, been both a receiver and a cornerback. As a receiver at 1,500 yards as a junior. He's the Longhorns' 7th commit for 2026.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
Cornerback Jack Duckworth out of the state of Texas is decommitted from Arkansas. Been committed since November, but he's opened up that commitment. Had offers from Stanford, Boston College, Pitt, Wisconsin, SMU, and others. He's a 3-star, the lowest rated commit of the Hogs class, now back on the market. Arkansas has 14 commits.
The Alabama Crimson Tide.
Alabama guard LeBaron Philon will remain in the NBA draft, will not return to Tuscaloosa. Philon finished his freshman season, 24 minutes a game in the 37 contests he played, averaged 10 points, 3 boards, and 3 assists.
The Mississippi State Bulldogs.
And Mississippi State AD Zach Selman has agreed to a contract extension. New terms run through 2029. You'll see an increase that'll pay him $1.25 million per year. That's a $100,000 per year milestone incentive for each year satisfied during the duration of the contract. He was named the successor to John Cohen back in 2023. So there you have it. That is around the SEC. Hump Day shows brought to you by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com, yourgoodwood.com. And remember, Unique Aesthetics is coming soon. You can shop with my personal URL and save before they open. Shopwithmatt.com. It's easy. Shopwithmatt.com. One more time. Shopwithmatt.com. Trust me, guys, if you don't want it, your wives, girlfriends, fiance, they will. Shopwithmatt.com. Taylor, next with Bourbon Dictionary.
AFR.
GLO, glowresources.com. They are complete employer solutions. Glow Resources and glowresources.com. Man, over at Glow, what they've been able to build is so impressive. What Jareth Knockan and his staff have done, they've done it with great culture. You know, whenever I tell you about Glow Resources and how they conduct some 15,000 interviews over the course of the year, roughly 50 a day for their partners, the business owner, you, trying to find you the right qualified employee to fill your job. What job? Any job in any industry. But do you realize they have never, not once ever, had a negative review on one of the interviews they conducted? Just think about the scale and scope of that. It tells you how professional, how expert they are at the thing they do, which is finding the right candidate for your job. You want to be more efficient? You want to find the right people? Glow Resources can help. Check them out online at glowresources.com. Complete employer solutions.
After further review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com. They're the gang with the slang.
Keep it 100. I don't know what you're talking about.
This is Bourbon Dictionary with Matt Moscona and Taylor Calandro.
I don't understand.
How was Micronesia?
How was where?
Micronesia.
Micronesia.
Yeah, the place where you went. You went on a plane, long plane ride. You went to...
yeah, I went to Germany, Austria, and Italy.
Nailed it.
You were really close.
Got it.
It was great, man. I drank a lot of beer, and Germany and Austria. That's literally all you do there.
So good.
And the food, man, is just not for me in Germany.
Why? I don't know that the German fare is something that I would be super pumped about.
I wasn't, and I was totally right. It's just, and I'm probably going to offend a bunch of people, but
who cares?
I don't care. I'm Italian, so I couldn't wait to get to Italy. That was our last stop.
Yeah.
German food is just a bunch of like heavy, hearty roast potatoes, not a lot of seasoning, and beer. I mean, that's literally all it is.
Yeah.
So, it was cool, though. We had a good time.
Hey, we got some big news, man, from a couple of brands with local ties. I want to start with Old Elk. It's our buddy Luis Gonzalez, who, shout out, Baton Rouge's own, who is the CEO of Old Elk out in Fort Collins, Colorado. They got acquired today. Give us the info here.
So they got acquired by Middle West, which is a little distillery out of Columbus, or out of Ohio. I don't know if they're in Columbus or not. But they're out of Ohio. They have their own line of whiskey and vodka and gin. They have a bourbon cream, too. I haven't had any of their stuff. I don't know what the deal entails. I did text Luis, and he's going to be with the company still. But
good thing.
Yeah. And as far as Greg Metz, I don't know what's going to happen with that whole situation. I was reading about that. Greg is the master distiller over at Old Elk, and he came from MGP, which this is where Old Elk still gets their stuff from. So I don't know if he's going to be part of that deal or not. It's very fresh news. So Luis sounded excited about it, so I guess it's a good thing for them.
Yeah, man. The other thing is actually people get asked all the time, like, about the best Louisiana distillery, right? Like juice that is like distilled here or finished here. And how about a big shout out for our guy Q and our friends over with the Whiskey Tree? My goodness, how about this? They won a double gold at the San Francisco International Wine and Spirits Competitions. If you would explain a little bit the significance of that competition, because that's like the big one, right?
Yeah, San Francisco Wine and Spirits is one of probably the biggest spirits one that most people look at, and they respect the awards that come out of there, because there's a bunch of awards that go around, but that's one of the ones that's really respected. And so it came out of 7-3 Distilling. It's Whiskey Tree. It's their high rye, which me and my wife went to 7-3 in New Orleans not too long ago and tried the full line of everything. It's fantastic stuff. It's 100 proof, the high rye, and it's 6 to 8 year. They've really waited and been patient to put out something that tastes mature and ready to go. And obviously the people at the San Francisco Wine and Spirits Festival agreed. It's good liquid. And they're right basically smack dab in downtown New Orleans, sort of, so, which is really cool.
Yeah.
They got a cool thing going over there.
If you go to the website, 73distilling.com, SEVENTHRE, 73distilling.com, you'll see it'll pop up right there, and they have their 2 gold medals, and you can hit meet the winner, and so it'll tell you more. Double gold, best-in-class finalists. Like, I remember, Taylor, a few years ago, I was having a conversation with your dad when McKenna 10 won the gold, and you told me, or Mark, your dad told me, he's like, buy that now, because in a few months, that ain't going to be $40 and you ain't going to be able to find it. And sure enough, like, it's impossible to find now. And it's $60, whatever McKenna 10. It's like, you start to win awards like this, it's a huge thing. And like, that's a Louisiana product. So hat tip to all the folks over there at 7-3. Great job with and you and I sampled that.
That was a few years ago.
Yeah.
At Phil's. That was the early iteration of it, and they sat on it for a little while.
Yeah, they did.
They are they're being patient. It's hard to be patient in this industry, especially when you're new, because you're just chewing through money. And but they've managed to do it, and they've put out some pretty good products. So
yeah, man,
check them out. They're literally right there. I'm not super familiar with the whole layout of New Orleans. I just go there, but it's right there next to the interstate downtown. Real close to downtown.
7-3 Distilling. We only got a minute left. Butch texted and said, ask Taylor if he would do a rare beer raffle. What do you think about that idea?
There's just not a whole lot. I mean, there's a bunch of rare beer, but man, that bubble burst a long time ago. And with the stuff I have in my house, I could probably do it if anybody still cared about beer. But
Butch cares about beer. I know that much.
Yeah, Butch does, but not many people are still doing that thing like that, unfortunately. That was a fun time.
I got about 30 seconds. What's new?
What's new? We got a Noel Reposado single barrel. Noel from Donaldsonville. It's the first single barrel they've ever done. And it's fantastic. It's a lot different than the stuff that sits on the shelf. It has a good bit of sweetness to it. This has a little bit of spice with some sweetness that I really like. I think it's around $60.
Okay.
I can't remember. I think it's around $60. But
All
yeah,
right.
it's the only Noel single barrel out there.
Thanks, dude. We got to go. See ya.
See ya.
That's Taylor Calandro. Hour 2 next.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Windows doors siding. Oh, yeah. They do shutters as well over at Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Hey, y'all, it's that time of year. It's 85 degrees in Baton Rouge right now. You know temps are going to keep climbing. What that means is your AC is going to have to work even harder to keep your home cool. So what do you want? You want energy-efficient replacement windows. Why? It's going to prevent those costly air leaks. What Relief Windows does, and I've been through this process now at 2 different homes, they'll send a measure tech. Like one of the reasons why you pay more with Relief Windows is the experience, the quality, and the service. For example, they send a measure tech, someone whose job is to measure your windows twice because they are all custom. Then they send the install crews. That's different from the measure tech. Of course, they have managers as well that'll check to make sure everything is done appropriately. The follow-up and follow-through is incredible. It's Relief Windows. And once those custom windows are installed, it'll reduce those costly air leaks, making your home more energy efficient. ReliefWindows.com.